Hi folks, so I'm just finishing on a reply to Ozzy on presuppositionalism, and his video that he's made, you go and link to that. If you go and listen to that, you'll get an understanding of where I'm coming from, of what I'm saying. I just want to finish finally with what I see presuppositionalism is, and how I use it, how Greg Branson uses it. I've gone into the weaknesses of presuppositionalism, the way it's being stated. I've made a video and it's on my page. But the way I see presuppositionalism is the way it was developed. It's developed in an analysis of the history of philosophy. So Van Til, from what I gather, and to be honest, I don't know a lot of Van Til, but from what I've gathered and from studying the history of presuppositionalism, I know a lot about the history. From what I gather, he had a very good grasp of the history of philosophy, and he saw certain issues in the philosophic history of philosophy, and he came up with it, developed his kind of response to those issues using Reformed theology. I think that you can't really engage with a true presuppositionalist unless you have a grasp, or unless you're willing to grapple with Reformed theology. And I would recommend you to read Berkhof's Systematic Theology. You can get that online, PDF, as a prerequisite to, if you want to be a serious in academic work in trying to understand presuppositionalism. I would encourage you to read Berkhof's Systematic Theology, just to get a feel for what Reformed theology is all about. And so two things. I think presuppositional, unless you are willing to study philosophy, which I know you have, Ozzy, unless you're willing to do that, you're not really going to get the full weight and understanding of presuppositional apologetics, because there are certain themes in philosophy that have come up that presuppositionalism is either on the back of or trying to answer. And there are complex issues from various branches of philosophy, like metaphysics, ethics, etc., that dovetail into each other, ontology, that dovetail in presuppositional apologetics, and are extremely key. Like, for example, ontology, the Christian position that there is God as being, and then there are human beings, and then there is a separation between those and pure nature. You know, that triangle of ontology is quite significant in presuppositional apologetics. I can't go into why that is the case, but if you believe that all there is nature, then you have a specific ontology that it has problems in terms of, well, I won't say problems, but it has a different feel philosophically if you have that kind of ontology. If you say all that there is nature, and that's the nature of being, then that ontology will have a big impact on how you do your epistemology, how you do your anthropology, how you do your ethics. So that one issue about ontology has a massive impact on your thinking about all these topics. So Van Til's developed his presuppositionalism through a rigorous understanding of the history of philosophy, and unless you're willing to read up on philosophy, I know you have, I know you're well up on philosophy more than me. Unless you're willing to read and learn more about philosophy, you're not going to get the full impact of these issues. When I was doing epistemology the other day, last week, I spent a day on it, and I um, I read articles on uh, what's it called, Stanford University, which is a good place. Read articles there about infinite regress, about internal, external, warrants, um, logicians, everything. And so some of it was just way over my head, very complex stuff. I couldn't understand half of it. But I tried to read stuff like that. I read the history of philosophy, some articles on that, and I listened to McDowell give a lecture. I listened to Zizek on Hegel. I listened to a couple of other famous epistemologists, and after all that, I still was only. It was just only a little scratch. I don't know diddly squat. It was only a pinprick of stuff. But I tried to jump into the topic as best I could, and we're all learning. And so what I'm saying is this issue, this epistemology, these questions that presupposition will bring up is something that, if you engage with it, requires you to apply yourself, to think, to get older books, to do some reading on philosophy, to do some thinking, to do research. It doesn't. It's not something that you can just come into and just give pat answers. We're all growing. We're all learning. So I would just encourage people to not dismiss these philosophical questions, but to jump in, to get a hold of get hold of Bertrand Russell's History of Western Philosophy, get hold of Anthony Flou's An Introduction to Western Philosophy or something like that, and have a read and think through these issues and think about them. They're not easy questions. They're very difficult questions, and I think that comes out with presuppositionalism. Secondly, what was the other one there? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I like presuppositionalism because we do bring to evidence our presuppositions. The way we think shapes how we look at the evidence. So I think it's important to challenge presuppositions and to be honest about them. I think also presuppositionalism, the way Greg Banson does it, I really like. I love it. I really love it. He does an internal critique. You want to see Greg Banson do it on Islam, and he does it on evolution and Islam, and it is absolutely brilliant the way you can use presuppositionalism to do internal critiques of other people's worldview, and also it's about worldview, and presuppositional helps people to get into each other's worldview, to helps each other to critique it. That's why I like it, and it's much bigger, much vaster and bigger than Seitan Brugengate's given the impression, or even the atheists, the way they're responding to it. So I've finished really. I've finished all that I've said. Big problems for atheists in their presuppositions about ethics. What is value in an atheist system? Big problem with anthropology. How do you get free will if we're all material? And in epistemology, how do we know what we know? As atheists, you've got big problems, and it's no good trying to dismiss it, but you have in your presuppositions. Alright? Thank you for listening, and take care.